Hey, Ecamm fam. Welcome back to the test studio. I am so excited to be here today for another episode of Meet the Fam. We've been doing more and more of these recently, so if you are an Ecamm member out there and you would love to share your story and walk us through what you do and how you're using video and Ecamm to make a difference, definitely get in touch with me. Shoot me an email, marketing@ecamm.com or katie@ecamm.com. You can find me in the community. I'm really easy to find, so definitely reach out and let me know. Let me know a little bit more about you and what you're up to. We'd love to have you on the show. And let us know where you're watching from today. I see Mr. Paul Duncan, super moderator. Oh, we got to fix my comments here. Let's make these a little bit bigger. Well, there we go. Not too bad. How are things on the sunny side of the country, Paul? Are things looking better than they are around here? It is starting to get sunnier here in the greater Boston area, but it has been a very rainy, weird, cold, and then intensely hot spring. So hopefully it's better where you are. Hey, we have Sammy hanging out here. We are going to be taking live questions throughout this session, so definitely let us know if you have any questions for Rosie. You can throw a Q colon in front of them, as Paul will say, and send them along. And just a little bit of housekeeping before we jump in. Our regular show on Wednesdays, live from the test studio with Jill and I, is on hiatus for the month of June. I'm sorry I didn't mention that sooner, but we're just taking a break for all of the kind of initial summer stuff, and then we'll be back in July. So if you have any topics that you're interested in, send those along as well. Getting warm over there. Well, I am so very excited to be here for Meet the Fam today, and I have with me Rosie Faulkner. Rosie is an experienced and award-winning producer, host, and video coach, and she helps female online course creators, coaches, and consultants conquer their fear of video. This is a topic that we talk about a ton here at Ecamm. All of us who are like, ooh, being on video has been a little bit scary here and there. This is the session for you to ask all of your questions. So she is dedicated to helping people grow their audience and influence and make more money. Rosie, thank you so much for hanging out with me today.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Super
excited to be here.
I absolutely love it. And I love this topic because before we jumped on, I was telling you that I have told the Ecamm fam this story probably hundreds of times. But when I first started at Ecamm, I'm a marketing professional, but I am not a live streamer, nor have I done a ton of interviews or, been on camera a ton. And so when I first started, this was scary. This is still scary from time to time, but it was scary, the idea of having to talk into a camera, about making sure that I was giving all of the information correctly, that I looked and sounded my best. Camera confidence can be hugely overwhelming sometimes. So I'm excited you're here to answer some questions and share some of your tips and tricks. So why don't you tell us a little bit about you? How did you get started in all of this? What's your story?
By accident, really, just like you, just thrown into it. I first started out as a fashion blogger.
Oh, my goodness.
I was taking pictures all the time. And I just wanted to get more exposure, and I always wanted to help other people get more exposure. So I just went to my local public access station one day and was just like, you know what? I think being on TV will help me and other people in the fashion community.
Yeah.
So I went to an information session, kind of like, figured out what the do's and don'ts were. But who does fashion on a local public access station? And they were saying you can't reveal brands. And I'm like, fashion is all about brands. I'm like, how am I going to do this? So the young lady that was in charge, she said, I have confidence you'll figure out a workaround. And so I went home, thought about it, figured out a workaround, and then literally just started. And when I tell you my first day, it was terrifying. Okay,
it really
terrifying.
Is. It always is.
Because it was a full crew. Not just, a full crew. So 3 camera people,
wow.
A teleprompter person, a floor director, all of this. And I'm just like, oh my God. Because back then I had a producer. So I was just hosting. So I just showed up and I was just like, I walked in, and I was just like, oh my God. And before we started, I just had to excuse myself. I went to the bathroom. I just gave myself a pep talk. Yes. I was just breathing, just saying, Rosie, you got this, you got this, you got this. And I just went back down the elevator and started. Like, could people tell that I was nervous at first? Heck yeah. But as the interview went on, my nerves calmed down and I made it through.
It is amazing. And it's so great to hear these stories because I feel like so many of us, especially in this space, we're watching YouTube all the time. We're checking out, interviews on a number of different platforms, and everyone always looks so put together and looks their absolute best, right? But everyone has that starting story. Some of us continue to have those moments where it feels completely overwhelming and it feels like you need to kind of recenter yourself and take those deep breaths and remember what's important and that you've got this. So I love hearing it, and I love hearing that you saw a need and you were willing to put yourself out there, because I think so much of it comes down to those moments and finding that space for yourself, especially for entrepreneurs and solopreneurs and individuals out there. No one else is going to find that space for you. So you need to put yourself out there and see where those opportunities are. That's so neat that you were able to do that, and that and you're able to calm yourself down and kind of put yourself out there. How did that first session go once the cameras turned on and everything? Was it as scary as it seemed? Did it go pretty smoothly? How was that experience of kind of being surrounded by so many cameras and people, and what was the outcome?
Nerve-wracking, palms sweating, heart beating, racing, whatever you want to call it. And it was an experience. Every time I look back on that, I just laugh, because you could just tell, and I could see the growth. And that's what I tell people all the time. When you look back on some of your first videos, you laugh. You're like, oh my God. But, you did it. And then after doing that show for over 8 years,
wow,
I felt like, I could start coaching, because I felt other women, like this, have this same fear, and so I had something to contribute. And I'm not special. If I can do it, and I'm an introvert, everybody looks at me and they think I'm an extrovert.
We're a team of introverts over here. I feel like more and more of us are like, actually, I'm not really all that good at all. Yep, I hear you. Oh, my goodness.
I have to coach myself up to do it. Even today, sometimes it's just like, okay, or going to a networking event, it's no difference. Like, I have to be an extrovert now. You're going to have to talk to people.
Yep.
But, for me, I'd rather be sitting in a corner somewhere being an observer, but I have to do this. I feel I'm passionate about it. And I just, transform myself and put myself out there each and every time.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's one of the most important things that you can do, is to sort of force yourself to be out there. It has been interesting. I feel like more and more of the larger events and conferences, and even some of the networking opportunities, we're seeing this rise of these sub niches. And I've noticed more and more of these events where they're like, this is the introvert day, or this is the introvert table, where it's been neat to kind of find your crew of people, and it isn't who you think it would be. For years, I just assumed that I was probably extroverted because I'm friendly and I like having small conversations. But I think the more that I realize how exhausting it is for me in some of those larger situations, where you're in a big crowd, the more I was like, oh, I don't think I am all that extroverted. Doc is saying, yeah, team ambivert. Yeah, seriously, I think some of us love it to a point, and then are happy to have a smaller group of people. Well, I wanted to chat with you a little bit about, you sort of already answered kind of how you were able to overcome your fear of showing up on camera, or at least that first time you were able to kind of recenter yourself. But if people are just getting started, or maybe, we've been at it for a little bit, do you have any kind of tips that you have on how to overcome that feeling of nerves? Are there any specific things that you do or that you recommend to your clients?
absolutely. So first, I recommend for people just starting out to just record yourself on your phone. That way, no one has to see it but you.
Just delete it afterwards.
Exactly. And that's a great way to just get yourself used to seeing yourself and hearing. Because a lot of people are like, I don't like my voice, and what can you do about it? You have to accept it. So the more you hear it, you will be more accepting of this is my voice. And then also you could see yourself. And I always tell people, you don't have to be super polished if that's not you. Like today I have on, makeup and I got myself together because I'm going to be, with Katie. But I like having a balance. Like I do a show, I don't know, can you curse on here?
Yeah, sure, curse.
Okay.
Cover your ears, Paul. Just kidding.
It's called Shooting the Shits with Rosie, and I do that every Tuesday. And so with that, it's however I am around the house, you know. And if you see me with the hair crazy, with a t-shirt on, whatever, that's what I do. Because if I have to get myself, camera ready every week, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
And I just know that's me. So, and then I have a show called The Bandwidth where I get myself together because I have an expert come on. But I let people know you don't have to be. If you are a makeup person, then do it, But if you're not, that is not a requirement. You want to be authentic, so whatever that is. So that would be one tip, is to pre-record yourself and then get comfortable with that. Then number 2, my second tip would be move to the next level, which would be maybe like a story or something, on social media, or do a reel or something like that.
Start that TikTok account.
Exactly. Those things could be, even like a story is only up for a certain amount of time. And so it'll be gone. You don't have a record unless somebody recorded it, but nobody's going to record it. But, you have. And then for the third step, I would just say do a short 5 to 10 second intro to whoever is following you. Just say your name, what you're helping them out with, or what you're all about, what their channel will be about, and get off. And those are the 3 steps that I would tell anyone to ease your way into it. And always just look back at all your recordings and critique them, but also look for the good too. Don't always look for the bad things, because we always focus on the bad things. But also look at what you did well, and continue to do those things. And then the things that may be a challenge, keep working at that until you get it to an acceptable level for you. So,
yeah, absolutely. I love the idea of being able to leverage what you have and do those, shorter clips with just your phone. I mean, we all have phone. We all have a phone. Everyone of us has one of these phones, and it gives us the ability to record those quick little videos, to capture that content. And maybe it feels silly the first couple of times that you're doing it, especially if you're just going to delete it, or it feels kind of uncomfortable. That's good. You'd rather have that uncomfortable feeling just to yourself on your phone versus have that uncomfortable feeling when you're in front of a larger audience or a digital audience. So that helped me a ton, taking that advice and kind of being able to leverage some of those spaces. And stories and reels are a great idea, especially any of those social short vertical video spaces where they disappear. I remember when those first came out and I was like, who wants this? I want to save all my content. I don't want any of it to disappear. And now I'm like, oh no, I see the value in this now. Sometimes you just want it out there for a little bit to kind of test the water and see what resonates and see what people are really engaging with, then no worries. It'll take itself down, so you don't have to worry about it. But you will be able to get that feedback, which I think is so helpful. When we're talking about live streaming to people who are newer to the space, and we're talking about how you're able to test out your stream just to make sure that everything is looking great and sounding great. One of the things we recommend is having a smaller Facebook group, or even going into the Ecamm Facebook group. But what's nice about those kinds of spaces is you can plant, your best friend, a spouse, a partner, a sibling, someone on the other side. If you're the kind of person that has a hard time watching your own content back, having someone there who is going to give you some honest feedback, but also be a little bit kind to you is a great way. Looks good, and they can put comments in, and give you that confidence. I love it. I absolutely love it. We made Paul laugh. Paul's. I love
Does
it.
he usually not laugh?
No, he laughs. He laughs.
Oh.
But we're laughing at that. I love the name of your show, and I like that. I think that's a really smart way to approach it. So you have two different kinds of pieces of content that you're putting out there, and that allows you to have kind of a place where you're being more authentic and able to kind of show your real side, but then also something that is more branded or more buttoned up. It lets you practice in different ways, which I think is also really clever. Doc is saying that video cameras weren't invented until 1959, so fear of camera is not natural, it's made up. I think it is. I think it just comes down to this fact of we can be uncomfortable with the idea of not being perfect, right? And so that it becomes amplified when it's recorded, and people can watch it over and over again. It's different than when you're sort of in person, standing in front of people, or or in a group of people, for sure. Which actually, go ahead. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, or being judged. No one wants to be judged, and that's the whole thing with putting yourself out there. Before, when you're behind the camera or not doing anything at all, you don't have to worry about people nitpicking or judging you about anything. So I think that's the whole thing of the confidence piece, because people are going to judge you regardless.
Yeah.
If you're going in a grocery store, people are judging you everywhere you go,
Yep.
And if you have a message that you want to get out to the world, you really have to overcome that. Because I always give the example about COVID with like a boutique owner or whatever. She had the foot traffic coming in and out of her store. She never had to worry about getting on camera, but COVID hit, and nobody was coming through. Maybe you have to now put on that inventory and model those clothes so you can keep the lights on,
Yeah.
So it just, different things thrust you into the, spotlight. Just like I think you were sharing one of your stories about how you got thrust into the spotlight,
Yep.
We just have to, make it happen and just get comfortable with it. And each time you do it, you get more comfortable and comfortable, so.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And I think being able to go back and focus on what those goals are and the value that you're providing is a really great way to help you kind of get in a better mindset when you're approaching some of this. As I was thinking more about I feel terrified about doing this. I feel uncomfortable in front of this camera and giving this, but I know that I know my stuff, and I know that people need help. And so being able to kind of reset myself that way and approach it that way. And I can't remember if it was Diana Gladney or Luria Petrucci. So shout out to both of these powerhouse ladies, but they were both, really helpful in getting me to change that perspective and remember that it's, I'm bringing all these preconceived notions to the table. It's not about me. As much as I'd love to think that everyone shows up to just hang out with me, and I'm sure all of you are watching just for that reason, just to hang out with Rosie and I. Really, people show up to these kinds of these videos, especially live streams, because they want to learn something, or there's something that they're trying to overcome, or there's a question that they have that they want to get answered. People, the personalities come into it here and there, but really in the end, people are looking for that help. So if you can kind of recenter yourself that way, I think it's hugely important. Fear of judginess, right? Fear of judginess is real out there. So this is actually
knowing your why.
Yeah.
I just want to, knowing your why, like you said, that helps me still to this day when I don't feel like doing something, weekly or whatever. It's just okay, you have people out here that want to hear your message. Yep. So get up and go do it. So I agree with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Eric, I don't believe that you're only here for me, but I really appreciate it. I will say, this crew has always made it an incredibly safe space for me, which I absolutely love. So I'm always when I'm live streaming for the Ecamm fam, and they show up and they're always, cheerful and friendly and supportive in the community. And then everyone else that watches it in the replay, or when we're turning this content, you're repurposing it and turning it into a blog post and getting it out in all those different places. That's just gravy and awesome on top of it. But when you're live, having a couple of people in the chat who are, again, kind of safe people who are going to be encouraging and ask those questions is a really great way to get started too. If you're the one hosting or you're your guest, bring your crew with you everywhere you go.
Yes.
I love it. Well, this actually brings me into my next question, which I think is one that is going to continue to become more and more relevant as we're living in this sort of hybrid world these days. So, when it comes to video, obviously there are live elements. So, whether it's live streaming or TV interviews or, even in many cases, some podcasts are live podcasts. So how what you're doing a lot of it when it comes to video. So what do you prefer? How do you approach confidence differently, I suppose, when you're doing live streaming or something that's live versus something that is a recorded interview or something that's going to be, not shown to a live audience?
It's different because when you're showing up live, you have to be prepared for anything. And a lot of people are not ready for that. They're like, oh no, anything can go wrong, the tech. But yes, it can and it will.
It will.
So
it absolutely will. Yeah.
But you have to be prepared for that. So I wouldn't suggest to start out that way, but you definitely need to be prepared because anything could happen. Your guests, internet could go out and then you're by yourself. You have to keep the conversation going. You can't stand still or look like deer in the headlights. You have to keep talking and moving.
Oh no!
Bring out a song. Do anything. No, but having to pivot is something that you have to be comfortable with.
Yeah.
And it's no retakes when you're live. So that would be the thing. Just getting your mindset ready for that live experience, it's one thing. As far as pre-recorded, a lot of people like that better because they can make those mistakes and, keep doing 59 takes if they want to because they have that luxury of being pre-recorded. So they feel a little bit comfortable because they can have that polished end result and, be happy with that. Television, it just depends on if you are live or, again, if it's a pre-recorded thing. It could be the same as the other two examples I gave. But just knowing and also just knowing what you're going to talk about is the best thing. Having your points, if you are by yourself, having your bullet points, or even if it's an interview, just knowing what you're going to talk about, know your stuff. I think that is, half the battle right there. Because you'll have that confidence. Even if you have your heart racing and other things happening, look, I know my stuff. I'm just going to get through it, learn from this experience, and move on. So, yes, that's how I would approach it.
Absolutely. And it's so funny because I feel now, I was telling you before we jumped on, but I'm these days significantly more comfortable doing a live stream than I am recording a video. Like, it's comical how bad I am at recording videos. I do 4,000 takes and there's a lot of swearing and me being nope and just stopping the video. I forget that the pause button exists. I just completely melt down. And I think a lot of that comes to the, again, going back to a mindset where I've become really comfortable with the idea that I can just be my authentic self on live video. I know that if I make a mistake, it happens, it's live, it's part of life. There's no opportunity for me to redo it, so I need to just rise to the occasion and push through. And I think knowing that makes me more comfortable, and knowing that I can fix it and should fix it when I'm recording it is almost harder now to me than the other option, because it's okay, I need to do it again. What did I say last time? How do I make sure that flows, really well and limits the amount of editing that myself or someone on my team needs to do. It's funny that I absolutely would have agreed with you all the way up until recently, but it's just the level of comfort I think they are very different mediums, and I do agree that I think having a really good mindset about it and understanding that when you're approaching live streaming or a live interview, that sometimes you might trip over your words, or a kid is gonna come in, or your cat's gonna walk across the keyboard, or these kinds of things may happen even if you plan for them. And in some ways it kind of makes that experience more real to people watching on the other side, it's those things that become, viral and a bigger experience. So calming yourself down and allowing yourself to carry through and not panic or like shut it down if those kinds of things happen is really important. Amir, I'm really sorry. I see your question. I'm not meaning to ignore you. I did turn up Rosie's mic volume. Rosie, if you have a physical mic in front of you and can turn it up a little bit, that would help. And I turned mine down a bit. So I do see you, and I'm doing my best. And Mike's got a great point here. When I'm recording an interview, I just treat it like it's live. Yeah, that has been my new process as well, and I think a lot more people are doing it that way. I started doing that mostly because I don't have time, or in many cases, our team doesn't have time to be doing a lot of editing on the other side. So, when we do these kinds of live interviews, it's great to have a live audience, but I'm also thinking about the audio that we can pull out, how we can repurpose that, how we can grab the transcript and turn that into a blog post, or a piece of content that we can share or have people download, as well as the replay video. So I think really thinking through kind of the live to tape process, which has always been a really popular part of television and has always been a thing, has become more and more popular here in this digital space as well. just bring the mic closer to you. Just put the mic right in front of you, Rosie. That's the answer. Good morning, Mike. I love it. All right, so you do it all, Rosie. You're like, your bio, I was reading through it. You're hosting, you're doing multiple shows, you're coaching, you're producing, you're on video, you're in these guest environments. Do you have a favorite? Is there something that you love doing more than others? What's the favorite aspect of your job?
I would say coaching, actually. Over the last year, it has been my favorite because I just love just seeing the transformation of people, my clients, community members, just to take someone that was totally fearful and just didn't want to. Like, one of my clients was a real estate agent, and she wanted to, get on camera to show different properties, but she wasn't comfortable with her appearance. And when you see someone transformed after just working with her, and it's not just on camera, she emailed me and told me that I never would have spoke up on different forums with my kids, for example. She was just like, I would read it, but I never would say anything. She was just like, now I am talking and I'm, voicing my opinion, all because of confidence. And when I hear that type of feedback, I'm like, wow, I'm making a difference, one person at a time. So it really, really encouraged me to keep going, because at the end of the day, I want people's voices heard, especially women. And if I could have, a piece of them, helping them gain their confidence, that's what I want to do. And so it just makes me excited. So I would say coaching, followed by hosting would be the second.
Yeah. I think what you're doing is so incredibly important, especially as women. We are really, really bad at selling ourselves short, or at, just being kind of active listeners and sitting in the background and not wanting to interrupt anyone else. We have all of these sort of like things that are built into us that we're trying to overcome. So I think it's so important, the work that you're doing. And I'm sure it makes a huge difference in trying to get more of us out there. And we all have value to bring to everyone. Everyone has, something that they can teach someone else, or that they can, help someone else with. So, it's great to hear. I did a panel for Women's History Month this year, and it was just, it's like sad but exciting to see, what women have gone through and are going through, and how so many women are rising above that and beyond that, and finding their voices and finding their confidence and reaching out. It makes a huge difference, not only in the people that they're reaching, but in their own ability to live their lives better and to do their jobs better and to be better, partners and parents and advocates. It's a huge absolutely huge. So I love that. And I can't say I'm surprised. I felt like it was sort of an easy question. I feel like you were going to go with coaching.
Yes, I love it.
I love that. We have a lot of coaches in the Ecamm fam, which is always great. I feel like once people master something, that desire to give back and to build a community and to be in a space is really exciting to see these days. There's just so many different ways that you can kind of have your people and your whether you call that, your tribe or your fam in our case, or however, it's nice to have that support system and be able to work with each other. So here's my next ridiculous questions. Since we're on the Ecamm show, how did you find out about Ecamm, and how long have you been part of the Ecamm fam?
So last year, I don't know how it came across my timeline or whatever, but I heard about you guys' conference. And I joined, and I was just like, oh my God. I had such an incredible time. It was virtual because, due to COVID, but I enjoyed it. I tuned into as many as I could. I also got the replay package, so I was able to, see that. And I really enjoyed it. And I was just like, oh my God, let me start following. I want to be a part of the fam. So that's how I got introduced to you guys.
FOMO. I love it. When Stephanie and I were first talking about setting up and doing our virtual conference, the timing ended up being just weirdly serendipitous, because we had already planned everything for the first year, and we were like, okay, I think the best timing for our conference is going to be March 2020. We're like all in virtual conference about video and live streaming. And then the whole world shut down, and no one, everyone needed to be on video, and no one had any idea what to do. And everyone had this time home in their homes, stuck, kind of feeling overwhelmed and beside themselves. And so that conference was really, in many ways, born out of that, on this kind of desire of being able to help people be better at video and have other people that they can talk to. So yeah, it's been a great experience, and we're looking forward to doing it again this year. I was saying to Rosie, I think we're going to niche down this year and do leap into podcasting, and talk all about podcasting and video podcasting and audio as a medium, and how that works alongside video. So yeah, so we'll be excited to hopefully have you back. Maybe we'll even work with you as a speaker. I know you had reached out about that, which would be awesome. So yeah, we'd be really excited to do that. But I'm thrilled to hear that you discovered us this way. That's our kind of our big push every year, is to really kind of get out there and see how many people we can help. So love hearing that. Yeah, I love it. Mike's like, the best way to learn and grow is to do. I know. And that's always the hardest part, as you're every time you're kind of, I'm sure all of us have gone to a ton of these virtual summits and workshops and trainings and everything, and you sit there and you're like, yeah, absolutely. You're writing down all these notes, and it's that taking that and actually doing the work later that is the absolute hardest part. It's I find it easier to do in a community. Maybe that's just how I am, but I think if you have a group of other people that are helping you or encouraging you or being like, hey, have you done that yet? It makes it a lot more helpful. And I'm sure in your coaching space is similar to that, having a group of people that can say this has been my win, or this is what I'm doing right now. And a coach, someone like Rosie that's able to push you makes it certainly easier, I'm sure.
And also being self-motivating too, it's good too, because just like the notes that I took, I was just like, okay, this is a good thing about gear, because I sometimes don't know what's the latest and greatest, and to hear someone give their review on it and then to try it out or whatever, just like it could be something simple as little headphones, or no, these work, these don't, but I found it very helpful, so I loved it.
We have a question for you. Loving those leading lines on your background. It draws us in. It draws us into you. It's a Jedi mind trick. Yeah. Where did you find that awesome background? Did you design it? Did you pick it up from somewhere?
Amazon.
There you go. Is it a physical background, or is it a digital background?
No, it's a physical one.
Oh, so
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, I don't like the virtual because like when you lean back, you can see your head go in. No, but this is actually a physical one. I have a stand back here, so I just have my little area.
That is so cool. It's funny. I don't think about that as often because I'm lucky that I live really close to our office, so we have the studio space, which is great. But a lot of people, I've been noticing more and more. Kelly Noble Mirabella is another one that has. She has also, like, she actually had custom designed for her a physical background, and it does look so much better than trying to do the virtual background thing. Because you're right, like sometimes it's so hard to light, right? To do like a green screen, if you don't get the light, if you don't nail the lighting, and even then, you move too quickly, or you get halos like around you. It can be really tricky.
Exactly. My son went off to college, and I kind of like transformed the corner of his room and moved his bed. And he comes home. He's like, "You have the rest of the house. Why you gotta look? You're gone.
You're like, welcome to the studio." Yeah,
exactly.
You're like, you're now a guest on my show. Take a seat. I love it.
Exactly. He was like, my nightstand is not where it's supposed to be. Okay, put it on the floor. You'll be okay. This is my space now. This little corner.
Yeah, you need to own that space. I mean, seriously, talking about confidence, knowing having a defined space and knowing like where your space is and how all of your gear works. I mean, that is also another way to really help have that feeling of confidence. Like whether I'm at home, I have like a mini home studio, or here in the space, like I know that all of the gear and how I have it set up and like the orientation of everything, I know that when I flick everything on, I'm going to look and sound great. Like that, I've worked hard at that. I've had team members help make recommendations. And so that I think makes me feel more confident as well when I'm going on camera, because I'm not as concerned about like, oh shoot, is my something gonna happen to my mic? Is it gonna rain outside? Is that gonna affect my lighting? Like, I did worry about a lot of that stuff before kind of I went through the process of making those updates. Or, I've talked about this on past videos where I didn't have I didn't have my camera plugged in. And so like at one point, even though I had the camera charged up, the camera the battery died during a session. So it just like froze me like on screen, right? So like knowing how to deal with those kinds of things, and so much of that's just experience, but having that kind of defined space and understanding your gear, I think a lot of that too really helps to contribute to, to your confidence. I'm laughing at Mike's comment. Mike was a weatherman. That is by far one of the coolest jobs. I'm very jealous of weatherman vibes. But yeah, the colors in your tie. My kids on picture day, they're always dress your kids up and whatever. My son wears green almost every single day, and trying to convince him that he can't wear green to picture day because they use those virtual backgrounds is gonna it'll be a floating head. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Were you successful? Were you successful?
I was. He did change over. He's totally a fall kid, so he lives and dies by Halloween and the colors orange and green and pumpkins and spooky everything. So he switched over to orange, but we did like a mini photo shoot at home and showed him like all the crazy fun dinosaurs like chasing behind him and all the cool things you could put in the background. You gotta have fun with the tech. If you have all the technology, right, you might as well have some fun with it. Like do your videos during the day, and then at night, crazy photo shoots that you can.
There you go.
Do fun backgrounds. Oh my goodness, yeah. Oh wow, I can never believe it. We're nearing the end of an hour. If you have any questions, you can always throw them into the chat. If you put a Q and a colon in front of it, it helps me to find them faster, but I'll be able to find regardless. Rosie, is there anything else that you wanted to share with everyone? Are there any pro tips or a story or an experience that you think would be helpful for people to hear?
Just rip the Band-Aid off. I always like to just rip it off. It's not as bad as you think.
Yep.
Just keep doing it and you will get better. And if you have issues or challenges, please seek me out. If you can't do it on yourself,
description.
Yeah. Seek me out. Or also, I have free things. Just like I said, Shooting the Shits with Rosie every Tuesday at 7. Just tune in. You can ask me any questions about your go live journey or your video journey. Just ask me that. The bandwidth, I have experts on. So, Katie, here's a plug. Maybe you could come on.
Yeah, anytime. I'd love it.
That's another avenue where people can, for free, just learn about, being comfortable in front of the camera.
Yep.
Or if you really have an extreme issue and you need help, I'm here to help you with my program. I'm doing this. I'm showing up on video, and I can just help you. It's a 4-week program, and I will get you confident on camera. But I just want everyone, whoever is, have a fear, just to overcome that fear. Because again, your voice needs to be heard. Because I always say it matters to someone. You may not think that it does, but it does. Whatever your unique passion is, people want to hear. And people always think, oh, not me, I only know a little bit. If you know 10% more than one person, then you can help them out in any way. So I always encourage people, you do know something, just overcome your fear and just do it.
Yeah. I know it's it always sounds so simple, and we get it. We hear you. We know it's more complicated than it sounds, but small steps I think is super important. And Rosie's advice at the beginning of this episode of just start by just doing short videos only for you and work your way up from that. There's so many challenges out there as well that you can participate in. There's just tons of them online. So find a way to force yourself to do it. If you want to do it and join us, you can always find us in the Ecamm community. You can search that on Facebook or go ecamm.tv/community. It's a safe space, I promise. There's a ton of people in there, but we're all friendly. So you can practice with us and learn a little bit more, build up your confidence. There is a U-shaped hole in someone's life. There absolutely is, Doc. And I think it's super important, the work that you're doing, Rosie. So I'm so thrilled that you were able to come on and share with us. I would love to come on your show anytime. You have my contact info. Reach out. And Paul dropped your website, but if you missed it, it is rosiefaulkner.com. Definitely swing on over and check out what Rosie is up to. Thank you for making the time. I so appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been a blast. And like you said, an hour goes by so fast when you're having fun. I know. And I just hope that we have helped just one person. So there you go.
Absolutely. Well, fam, you can find Rosie on her website. You can find us here on YouTube. You can also swing by the community, which I just gave you the link for. And then also we have a full video hub. So if you go videos.ecamm.com, we have tons and tons and tons of trainings. Our most recent one was all about Zoom. So if you're like, I would really love to show up better in Zoom, we've got you. We have so many sessions and content all about that. And then upcoming this week, tomorrow, we have our final episode of Showrunner with Stephanie Liu. So if you've been like, hey, live shopping, that could be a thing I want to be into, we've got you there too. We've been teaching everyone on how to get up and running with live shopping. I co-hosted my own live shopping event with all of you last week, and it was so easy. It was so much easier than I thought it would be. It was super fun. So hopefully we'll see you on that episode tomorrow, and you can always catch all the replays here on YouTube. But thanks for hanging out, Rosie. Thanks for hanging out, everyone. We will see you next time on Meet the Fam.